Hi there, and welcome to the family, Nick Hayes. Welcome to the Carlton family. So let's do a little ramble about your energy and the way that it fits and also challenges the overall Carlton dynamic. So Nick loves a challenge, okay? This is somebody who has the energy of really getting their passion ignited when there is a challenge put forward toward them. And that's because this is somebody who can very easily put their head down and do the hard work. As long as there is a reason for them to do it, as long as they feel a reason in their depths, in their core, that they can do this, that they want to do this, more importantly, they will go and get it, right? And they will create the daily habits. He will create any daily habit that he needs to change in order to get to the goal. And particularly when it comes with working with other people, if there are things that he needs to change in order to work better with other people, he will. And a lot of that comes from these wound placements that we find in our psyche. And so for him, there has been throughout his life a craving to belong, okay? And that energy is being super activated right now for us to be our authentic selves and be accepted for that. And I've rambled about that quite a lot. And so because, when we are somebody who has this craving to belong, but never really feel like we'll fit in, always really feeling like we are too different to fit in, you can go, there's two ways you can go with that. You completely give up, but the rest of the energy of Nick is not somebody who completely gives up. This makes him somebody who will choose freedom to be authentic at any cost, right? At any cost, at the cost of ridicule, the cost of emptiness, the cost of not having anybody around you. If this is something that he wants to belong and be part of, he will choose freedom still over that. Like, I want to be part of this thing, but if I can't be myself, if I can't be free, I'll be alone, right? I'll let you ridicule me. And so that wounding and this wounding that he has, it's like a wound of talent, right? Because throughout his life, being slightly eccentric in the way that his energy is, there is this ongoing, as we're growing up, ridicule of being different and also not being praised enough for his creativity, for his skills, and for how he shines his light. So there is a fear of judgment that comes with that, because being judged as a child in that space is of like feeling a little bit too different and feeling like what it is that you have to offer the world, what your light is, what your gift is to the world is not praised enough, is not talked about. And so you kind of get a little bit judgmental about it. And this is that underlying voice that we all have to hear throughout growing up. And we have to hear this voice in order to heal it. So kind of being told that if you do shine who you are as a person, it will be judged makes it really hard to kind of be what he's trying to be here, right? To come forward as this star, as this seen in the public light sports person. And so most people with this kind of wounding actually do have an incredible talent. It's that they have a fear of showing it because they don't feel like they're talented enough, because they have never really experienced it, and they feel a lot like they'll just fade into the background because what they have to give is not talented enough. And so this can lead to people feeling like they're disliked, like they're being ignored, like they're being, not noticed, or like they're not talented enough, right? And so these two woundings, when they match up with the type of drive that Nick has, and we see this kind of wound story becoming fuel through the rest of his energy, and it makes him unstoppable once he chooses a goal, once he finds a challenge, once that passion is ignited, because he has lived it in his head, he's dreamt it in his head. The energy of the dream has been thought out, has been practiced, right? And so there are these dreams of success and these feelings that, like, I'm going to achieve that. I'm going to be free to achieve this success regardless of what other people tell me is the outcome. And it's that kind of energy that can really shift this wound into fuel, because if we're like, you can judge me and I'm still going to do it, then our own judgment becomes part of that. Well, even if I think that I'm doing it wrong, it feels right and I'm still going to do it and I'm still passionate about it. But, you know, he exercises a lot of caution still when he's doing this. Even when he's saying freedom at all costs, I'm going to achieve this at all costs, a lot of caution is practiced. There's a lot of responsibility to the way that he brings in new things, because he wants to avoid any kind of shock, any kind of situation that pushes him back into feeling like he's not talented enough. And so they don't, you know, they think it in their head, they live in their head, they plan it in their head, they experience it in their head. And then when they feel safe, that they've practiced it enough, that they understand it enough, that they are talented enough, that's when they strike, right? And so there's a lot of self-reliance in Nick's energy. There is a lot of self-mastery and being able to ground down an overly expressed imagination in what you want, right? Like the dream of what I want to achieve might be huge, but I will spend time figuring out how to take the steps to get that. And that's where that we see the responsibility and the caution being exercised, that even though I might have this huge dream, I will figure out what I'm capable of. And when I'm ready to strike, you better believe that I know that I'm ready for it. And this is somebody who is going to be aligned with the energy of Carlton in that they need stability, that they need to be able to communicate who they are. They need to have someone understand, particularly in a workspace, that their drive comes from learning from the journey. They need all of these things. But the challenge will be that Nick is somebody who builds a real rule structure in a very authentic way. It comes from a very deep place of healing and understanding who he is, that he builds a rule structure for. And once he has this rule structure in place, it's very hard to shift it, because there is an understanding for him of how correct he is and how right that rule structure is for him. And so this is where we see the challenge aspect for an energy like this with the Carlton team, because his dream of success, his idea of what that looks like to him, because he's made this move, we can assume that he's made this strike from a very safe and solid understanding that he is ready for it. But this is somebody who has been the long game. He's been taking the steps. He understands what is required of him, but he shows up very differently, very authentically. And he already has an inner acceptance of that authenticity of who he is as a person. And this is something that is going to be very helpful for the other players in the Carlton team, is having this energy of someone who accepts their authenticity and shows up that way regardless of any ridicule that they might face. This is somebody who can come in and show people how to be stable in being authentic without being concerned of an external judgment. And if you've watched my other videos, particularly the one about the Carlton energy, you can see how this could be a slight challenge for them, but also it's a gift to have somebody like this be aligned with the Carlton energy, but also offering this slight challenge. So welcome aboard, Nick. I do believe that your sister who saw the psychic implanted this little idea, and it has been something that you have been building towards for a number of years. And so I feel like when the psychic maybe saw that through your sister, that was when the initial seed got planted, and that all of the steps that you have taken have led you to this. And the new journey that we have just started, it lights up the expansion, the risk-taking, the luck of Nick Hayes' energy, of that part of his psyche where he, over the next 2 years, the way that he builds his relationships, the way that he calls people in and understands them and helps them understands themselves and brings together, he's a piece of a puzzle for a lot of people, and he's a piece of a puzzle for them in a way that allows them to take risks. He helps them understand where they can take risks safely. And I think this is a very helpful energy. Somebody who has overcome their own internal fears of never belonging, of being too weird, is somebody very helpful to the Carlton energy. And early last year, we saw this energy of him really stepping into who he wants to be. And that would have been early 2023. And so Nick Hayes coming into the Carlton team now, he's on the other side of that. There are a number of players on the Carlton team who are going through that right now, trying to figure out how they want to show up as a man. And we see Nick is on the other side of that. And on the other side of that, he has accepted that he is who he is. As much as he craves to belong, that's not as important to him as his authenticity, as him being himself, as the freedom for him to do and be and exist as this individual human being. And so, yeah, I'm interested to see how he meshes with the rest of the team. And I really think he is going to be helpful in a little bit of a challenging way. And so, yeah, welcome aboard, Nick. Go Blue.